Today we gather to discuss the Enneagram 3. The Enneagram 3 fixation comes from the Heart Center, 2, 3, and 4. Heart types have, at their core, a gaping hole where self-esteem is supposed to be. 2s try to fill the hole by fostering relationships. 4s decorate the hole and pretend like it's supposed to be there. And 3s try to fill the hole by succeeding at whatever it is they do. 3s feel like they have to earn the right to love themselves.
I gotta prove it. Prove what? I'm not a mistake.
So the classic 3 character is the person with a career goal. Tiana, Whiplash Guy, Rodney Copperbottom, pick your poison. There are quite a few of them. Since they actively go after a thing, 3s are an easy candidate for protagonism. This character has attached their self-esteem to their hustle. They have to succeed. They have to be number one or they're worthless. The stakes are emotional.
No, I'm a star!
And the emotional stakes of whether or not the 3 succeeds are enough to carry the narrative. But if you really want to tell a story about 3ness itself, you have to realize that no matter how high 3s climb, they'll never be satisfied. Their success will never be enough. The goalpost is constantly moving. 3s are essentially trying to please the void. Whether it's a cheering crowd, a bank account balance, a person whose admiration they crave, 3s turn to something outside of themselves to dictate their self-worth. That's their whole problem.
I'm the best one.
So, true growth for a 3 is when they can finally be satisfied internally, when they can look out at the void and say, I've done enough for you, I'm going to rest now. Usually to get to this point, the 3 needs to fail in some way, but getting everything they ever wanted can also be a form of failure, like the idea of selling your soul for success is very 3. A Star is Born needed a style pass, respectfully. I know it's a remake, but the title is Freeze-Dried Potato Salad, and her pop star name is Allie. Just Allie, come on. Shallow is good, though, but I digress. This movie is about a 3 artist who wants to make it to the big leagues, and she does, rather rapidly. But Allie's failure is in letting the industry take away her authenticity. We meet her as a soulful songwriter, but they turn her into a bedazzled puppet singing about nothing. And only then does she realize she needed her authentic self, which comes out in her relationship with her husband. He's kind of the growth point for her.
Your nose is beautiful. Are you showing me your nose right now? Yeah. You don't have to show it to me. I've been looking at it all night.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I'm going to be thinking about your nose for very long.
Allie also exemplifies something that most people miss about 3s, which is that they're not just chasing success at any cost. They have to succeed in a way that makes them feel personally worthy. Like, sure, you can have a 3 who's more childish and just likes to turn their brain off and bask in applause, but 3s ultimately want to be the real thing. 3s don't want a participation trophy. They don't want an easy victory. They want to feel like they've earned it. They don't want to be liars. They don't want to be frauds. And that fear sort of eats them up inside. So another common 3 journey is stop acting like the thing and be the thing. Rango is a 3 story that I quite enjoy. The main character starts as a fraud who enjoys being praised, but then he gets called out and leaves with his tail between his legs.
I don't even know who I am.
Rango has to go on a spiritual journey to discover his authenticity, and only then can he come back and be the badass he always pretended to be. For all the incoming Rango is a 4 because identity comments, remember that the type 4 conceptualizes significance as negative. It's sad and mopey and self-degrading, but type 3 significance is always positive. You will never find a 3 who revels in being hated. That's a 4 thing. 3s want you to think that they're cool and awesome. The Rango thing also happens in the 3rd Creed movie. Creed is a 3 trilogy if I ever saw one, but the first 2 movies, as great as they are, really just show Adonis Creed wanting validation and getting it. A lot of the impetus for growth is placed on the supporting characters in Creed 1 and 2. It's not until the 3rd movie that Adonis's fakeness is fully called out and he goes on a proper ego death journey, finally becoming the real thing like Rango. 3s have to find their true power and authenticity within, outside of your presentation, your reputation, your accolades, your legacy. Who are you?
I think I might be nobody.
A 3 tragedy, by contrast, is where they never find that authenticity. It's the not like us story, where the world turns on the con artist, a la Stringer Bell. The most common 3 stereotype, though, is the rich finance bro or the extravagant socialite, Jay Gatsby type. This caricature is so hated that people often find it hard to grasp what's actually going on with 3s. They would rather write this type of person off as being entitled or having a superiority complex. But we have to remember that there really is no such thing as a superiority complex. There is only an inferiority complex that one compensates for. At the beginning of their story, long before they started collecting trophies, the three started from a place of shame and embarrassment. It could be the kid who was bullied in school and then vowed to stun on the haters by any means necessary. The classic 3 power fantasy is like, yeah, you're right, Chris, we should catch up sometime. Unfortunately, though, you didn't invite me to after prom, so put the fries in the bag, and then they drive away in their Ferrari. Literally Greg Heffley. If you relate to Greg Heffley, you are a 3, I'm sorry.
New card. What do you think?
Oh.
Just remember, it's all comparative with 3s. It's not that they want to be attractive, it's that they want to be more attractive than others. It's not that they want to be rich, it's that they want to be richer than others. With this in mind, you could write a 3 who started from nothing, but you could also write a 3 who was born a rich noble, only he's been overshadowed by his siblings his entire life. As long as they feel beneath others in some way, you're good. And of course, backstory is not necessary, so you can also just have a 3 like Azula, who has always been pursuing greatness, and that's just her MO. I've talked about how 3s need to start from a place of shame and being beneath others, but if you really want to focus on the 3's backstory, I think another key ingredient is stability. Heart types 2, 3, and 4 generally don't grow up in war zones, because if you're fearing for your life every day, you don't have time to worry about self-esteem or identity or your legacy. So the sweet spot to grow a type 3 is you give them enough stability so that they have the mental space to worry about success, but you still start them out with some noticeable disadvantage. You shoot them in the leg right at the starting line.
Every single person that I've come in contact with in the music industry has told me that my nose is too big and that I won't make it.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a...
You give them a chip on their shoulder, and the inadequacy they feel becomes the driving force in their lives. This lower middle class dynamic is done really well in House of the Dragon with Sir Criston Cole. Cole was a steward's son who was knighted after proving himself in battle. But knights in the Game of Thrones world are often rich kids from great houses who were given knighthood not for their accomplishments, but for their nepo baby status. Cole had to fight his ass off to get this honor, but once he gets there, he's mocked by the other knights. He's not like them.
A man from such modest beginnings, what a giddying ascent the gods have bestowed on you.
Cole's insecurities propel him through his career as he gets promotion after promotion, fueled by teary-eyed rage towards the people who rejected him. They'll see. I'll show them. That's what it means to be a 3. Marjorie Tyrell is definitely a 3. Littlefinger might be a 3 too, although if you don't know the character's motivation, it's kind of a Schrodinger's Enneagram type situation. But remember, 3s are heart types, which means they slide very naturally into the lover role. It's easy to see why 2s and 4s are romantics, but with 3s, especially 3 men, it's often hidden deep down. Like, if you have to be that masculine ideal all the time, the golden retriever within is going to stand in awkward contrast to the image you've created, so you kind of just have to muzzle it. But it's there, and 3s fall very naturally into romantic subplots. Heart types go all in with the relationships. Head types and gut types, it's not as explicit. But when you see a character who is in love, fantasizing, hugging their pillow at night type shit, that's usually a heartoid. With another type, maybe a 5 or an 8, the love subplot will be the antithesis of their goal. It will be the thing they've overlooked or the answer. But with the 3, the career goal and the getting the girl / getting the guy relationship goal often run parallel. Because those two things are the same. They feed back into the self-esteem machine. High School Musical literally has this revelation in all 3 movies. Like, oh no, which one is Troy gonna go with? His basketball career or the girl? Both. It's always both, because the real answer for 3s is authenticity. Being themselves and being happy instead of chasing society's definition of success. It's important to remember that with any type, a fixation doesn't have to apply to all areas of life. It's not true to say all 3s care about their physical appearance. You could have a 3 who doesn't care about what they look like because all of their 3 energy is getting poured into, let's say, their boxing career. But when they go to the grocery store, they just dress kind of bummy because that's not where their hustle is. This selective application of the Enneagram complex is why we have further levels of description, like wings and instinctual variants. It's the Enneagram's way of saying, okay, we know this person has a 3 complex, but specifically where in their life is their 3ness being channeled? Is it a career, their social life, a love interest? I see the core number as the why and the other stuff as an attempt to describe the what, which is why I try not to lump them into one label, but that's what it is. Now, just a sidebar here, I've been using examples of 3 hustles like like money, sports, attractiveness, but threes can just as easily put all of their energy towards world peace. They can apply their threeness to moral causes. And then they'll be like, I'm an 8, but then you compliment them and they giggle and you're like, nah. The 3 is still doing a good thing, it's just the why might be partially intertwined with self-worth issues. We follow such a 3 in HBO's Tokyo Vice, which I will once again be How It's Made, Krispy Kreme donuts glazing. Jake Adelstein, the protagonist is a textbook 3. He moves to Japan to be a crime reporter, starts at the bottom of the food chain, falls desperately in love with a Yakuza boss's mistress, and makes a ton of mistakes in his quest to get the biggest stories. 90s Tokyo is a minefield of corruption and murder, and so it's surprising when some of the darkest moments in the show have nothing to do with crime. Jake has a family back home in America, and the show emphasizes how Jake's abandonment of them causes immense pain. 3s slot naturally into stories about obsession. A lot of the time you just want to scream at them, let it go, relax, be a human, pay attention to your kid, because on the lower end of health, 3s can be absolutely robotic. They will steamroll friends and enemies alike, not out of hatred or a need for control, but just because it's good business.
I seem to be inept at everything except my work. I'm good at my work, so I confine myself to that.
I talked about network in the 4 video, but Faye Dunaway's character Diana is a type 3 tragedy. She ruthlessly climbs the hierarchy of the television industry, losing more and more of herself to what her boyfriend Max describes as shrieking nothingness. And when Max finally leaves Diana, she loses her last shred of authenticity. In her final moment on screen, she is shown in a wide shot, a ghost of a woman, her expressions unknown to us, as she orchestrates the actual straight-up murder of a news personality. All because of his lousy ratings. That's a 3 completely off the deep end. When 3s get this bad, it is almost impossible to imagine that they're doing it out of some twisted need for love, but they are. Their pursuit of line go up, however brutal, however soulless it may seem, ultimately comes from the inner child. And if you give a Cole or a Diana or even a Patrick Bateman a hug and you tell them they're enough and that they don't have to prove anything to you, they will fold. Trust me. Every villain is a tragic villain. Speaking of 3 antagonists, and continuing the trend of this video being a bit of a sausage fest, Dementis from Furiosa and Proximus Caesar from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes are both 3s. Both characters are obsessed with greatness in their respective worlds. Both put on shows for their followers, but both of them are positioned against gut-type leaders in their respective movies. Dementis looks like a phony when he goes to war against Immortan Joe, who doesn't care about validation and thinks more practically. Proximus tries to imitate the OG Caesar, but lacks the egoless, grounded strength of his forebear. The reality is, when 3s take leadership roles, they often do it for themselves. Because if I am the great leader and everybody loves me, then I will finally be worthy and earn my right to exist. Redemption for such 3s often looks like stepping down from such roles and just being a part of a community, which is why it's said they move to 6 in growth. In terms of personality, there's never a one-size-fits-all description for each type. Any surface-level trait could have its origins in a number of type fixations. You just never know. But in general, a lot of 3s are polished, charismatic, good at negotiating, good at justifying their own actions, socially intelligent, and excellent at spinning negatives into positives. Unless they really have their shit together, though, there will always be a sense of fakeness when they try to be something that they aren't. They can make a career of covering it up, but deep down, the 3 has the fluttery heart of a performer. And until they really confront that self-esteem wound, they won't be able to achieve the groundedness and authenticity that they often imitate. Richard Rohr says the 3 might just have the hardest route to redemption of any type, in part because when they do the right thing and get praised, it's like, wait, did I do that because it was right or because I wanted praise? They can get tangled up in this back and forth of trying to get you to like them. So the ultimate 3 growth moment, which I haven't seen in any media, would basically look like the 3 permanently ruining their reputation for the greater good and never telling anyone the truth. Never trying to spin it into a positive, just taking it to the grave. That would be a fully redeemed 3. So yeah, 3 stories. Ambition, image, success, legacy, obsession, authenticity, self-esteem. That's the Type 3 video. Hope that helps. Goodbye!